Welcome to episode 3. Now we are well into your drawing now, and what we're going to be doing this week is chrome. Now this is one of my favorite things to draw. It is one of the hardest things to draw as well. A lot of people struggle with drawing chrome. Now today we are going to be focusing on how to do your different shades to make chrome actually look shiny on paper, what colors and what materials you can use, and how to read your image to get your chrome looking really realistic. Gotta sound like Zoolander then.
Really ridiculously good looking.
Now, these are the things that you're going to need today to draw your chrome. Now, luckily, most of the materials that we used last week to do the body colors are the same ones that we're going to need today. Now, here's a short list that you can screenshot to make sure you got all the right stuff. And a fine tip paint pen is going to be very helpful for those tiny little highlights. Now, the first thing I want you to do is grab your Sharpie. I want you to black out the inside of the headlights, the inside sections of the wheels, and where the tires are. So now that we've blacked out all these major areas in here that are already black, what we're also going to do is black out this section here. So as you can see, we can see part of the interior, and then we can see the window coming through. We're going to black all this out and then add your gray with your marker through here and a little bit of gray here just to match that window to that tone. Then we're going to move in some of the tricky stuff. A basic outline will help you get the shapes right. Now use your Sharpie to fill in all the black areas, your number 7 marker to do the front window, and your number 3 to do the side. So now that we've got all of our major dark areas blacked out, I want you to grab your 50% French gray, your 50% cool gray, your blue, your powder blue, and your white. And you're also going to need your 90% gray or a black, either one will do, and your blender. Now what we're going to do first is you're going to notice that on the inside of these headlights, there's a small ring in here. See that? There's an outline there, there's an outline there, there's a ring there, and there's a ring there. You want to make sure you just draw those in lightly, that way you don't miss them. Now we're going to start off with this, your 50% French gray. We're going to use that as a base layer here, and we're also going to use it down here. We're going to do the same thing around each and every one of these rings. And we're going to do the same thing over here. Then I want you to grab your blue, just a little bit of blue here, a little bit of blue there, a little bit of blue on the top. So these areas here on the insides, and then these areas up here on the outside of the rings, a little bit of blue. And now when you grab your powder blue, you're going to blend them in a little bit. Now that you've blended them in, you can see those colors are now starting to blend in a lot nicer. Grab your white, and then mix in the rest of these colors in. Now, I want you to grab your gray or your dark gray, your 90%. Essentially, what I want you guys to do is to copy exactly what you see on this reference. So we're going to do this section here. As you can see, there's a small line and then there's this shape here. So we're going to do exactly that. There's a small line and then a shape like that here. Exactly like how we did when we originally drew this car on a grid. We are using the photo as our reference. Then we're going to add some black up here, which we can see it up here. There's also a little bulb we can see in this image. I'm going to add that in there. A little bit of darkness in through that grey. And then all the way under here, we've got a lot more grey coming through. If you notice, the actual headlight has these indents and small reflections inside the glass. So just grab your 50% gray and just add those in a little bit just to make that look a little bit more realistic. Now we're going to move into the trickiest part, which is going to be this chrome section here and obviously the back wheel as well. This is going to come down to the same fundamental tricks that we use when drawing the outline. I want you to use this reference photo as your main point of reference. I'm gonna grab your number 3 Copic marker. We're just gonna color in this area here in gray. And then we're gonna start bringing out all these gradual colors, as you can see. And also, I want you to leave a lot of white. There's not a lot of white in the car itself, but in chrome, there's heaps of white. Here, 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 and here. And obviously all through here, there's a lot of white. So we're gonna use a lot of that to really bring out some contrast. So here, your job is to really read your reference. See where these French grays start, where the darkest tones begin and finish, and try to match this as close as you possibly can to the photo you're looking at. Now here, this actually looks a lot trickier than it actually is. We're actually going to do some simple tones through here and add these in later with different layers and even some of these white highlights. I'm going to teach you the right tricks to make that as easy as possible for you. So your 70% gray is going to be the first thing you use to do these nice curvy shadows. Then in your white section, I want you to use your light blue pencil, add a little bit of blue in there. Now, also want you to grab your 50% gray and start blending in that top section of the wheel, just so all the colors are smooth. Then grab your black and start drawing those tiny black lines that you can see filling in there, and then your bolts right at the end to finish it off. Now you can use your 70% gray or just your black to do the reflections of the chrome of these nice dark areas that are filling in. Now a nice little trick that I like to use also is using my 50% gray behind the dark areas and then using my black to draw the breaks. So now that we've finished the front wheel of the chrome, we're going to do the back wheel in the exact same method that we did. So just a slight gray on top here with a marker, and we're just going to copy everything we see on that reference onto our drawing, and then we'll get a nice realistic look of chrome on paper. Start with your base tone C3 marker, then a little outline of showing some of those shapes that you're seeing on the inside of the lip. Now like your first wheel, I want you to start on the inside of the rim with some of your darker shades and then using your white to blend all this out. Then you're going to start moving your way with the darkest tones into that lip. And a little bit of blue and French grays are going to be really helpful here to really bring this to life. Now grab your 70% gray and you're going to start doing those nice curvy lines up at the top of that rim, and then you're going to finish it off with some of your whites and your 10% gray to smooth it all out. Now right at the end, you're going to grab your black, and that's the ones you're going to use to do those tiny black details that are left over to really bring this to life. Alright, we're now at the final stage of bringing all the chrome and the glass to life. So now we've done the wheels, the headlights, and the really tricky stuff. Now let's do something that's going to really make this pop. We want to get that nice gradient from that glass, from the edge there all the way through here. And obviously we want to bring these headlights nice and bright, like if they're actually made of glass. Now there's two ways we can do this. We can do this with an airbrush, which is what we're going to do now. And there's also a pencil method that we can use to try and bring it to life. Some of you might have an airbrush, some of you might not. So we're going to do two different ways, and hopefully you guys can actually try and get this effect right. But I do suggest that you get yourself an airbrush, because it's going to be very helpful in the long run, especially if you want to make your drawings pop. Now I've just made a small photocopy of this so we can use two different examples. The first example is really easy. We're pretty much just going to grab our white, our cool gray, and our 50% gray, and our blender. And these are the ones we're going to use to do a quick light blend. So you're just going to grab your white, and we're just going to follow this here. So we're just going to lighten that up there. Then your 10%. And then you want to grab your 50. And now you've got yourself a really cool fade. You can see now on the glass. The same thing with your headlights. So go on top of your headlights. And then just lighten up those areas that you can see on your reference photo. There's actually a little bit of blue coming through here, so we're going to add a little bit of blue in here. Now once you've done that, grab your black and just add that little nice black outline across that windscreen. And there you go. And then you've got your glass all done just by using pencils. Now, the other trick is to do it with an airbrush. So let's go back to this one. We're going to hit this with an airbrush. I suggest you get a good compressor, but as far as the airbrush guns, you can go a little bit cheaper because when you're starting off, you're probably going to block them up pretty easily. And I use a nice, easy water-based paint for all my whites and my blacks. Now what I want you to do is start off with the brighter section of the highlights and then work that fade into the darker areas. Now you might get a little bit of overspray. I'll show you very soon how you can get rid of that overspray once it's on there. So as you can see, we got a lot of overspray into some of the darker areas that we've already drawn. So you're going to grab your blender straight away and get rid of some of that overspray. Then grab your black pencil and fill in that nice black outline where the edges of that headlight would actually be. And then your final stage, to give this a quick little white fade from the bottom up, just nice and lightly. You don't have to press too hard. I want you to grab your 70% gray, do a small line like this. Now grab your black. Your black, just finish it off with those nice little inner shadows and lines that are left on the inside of that window. And congratulations, you have finished doing all your chrome work on your drawing. Now next week we're going to really finish this drawing off with a full background. Well, that was it for today's episode. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you learned some stuff. If, of course, you have any questions, send me a message. Or, of course, if you would like a private tutoring class, I can organize that. Just send me a message and we can try and get that organized. I'll see you next week for the next episode on how to draw cars.